Yo, peace was good. Welcome to another hip hop album review. This is part 162. The album that I will be reviewing today is Organized Confusion's third and final album titled The Equinox, released in 1997. But before I start, I just want to say, as of now, as of today, as I'm recording this, I have 2,139 subscribers. Thank you for that. Without you guys, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? Thank you for the comments, and even though some of them I might not agree with or something like that, but I do respect some of you, most of you guys' opinions and things like that. Just keep it going. Just share with a friend. Spread the wealth, as they would say. Enough of the props and all that. I did a review on the first two albums. If you haven't peeped that, definitely check that out. I did. So right after the second album, they did some work, some outside work. In 1995, they appeared on the New Jersey Drive soundtrack, Volume 2, with a song called "You Won't Go Far" with OC. Oh my God, dope ass song. And in 1996, they appeared on a compilation album called the AIDS compilation album, which is the acronym for America is Dying Slowly. It's pretty much like AIDS awareness soundtrack and stuff like that. It was pretty popular back in '96. There was a song that they did called, I think it was called Decisions. Pretty dope joint. I'll post that down in the description box. And in 1997, they did a song called Late Night Action, which actually appeared on the song the whole soundtrack is a documentary. I think it was a documentary or a movie, basketball in the hood and stuff like that. It's pretty dope. But yeah, man, a dope soundtrack too. I don't have it, unfortunately. I have it digitally, but I don't have the physical. I would like to get the physical. And then throughout the years, throughout '96 all the way to '97, is working on some material and ended up becoming this album. All right. There's 3 singles. The singles are Numbers, which was like more like an underground single, but it is a single from them. Sugar Shorty, which I believe was the third and final single. It features Hurricane G of Def Squad fame, and Somehow Some Way, which was the first single. Somehow Some Way, I believe, is the only one that had a video. So just throw that out there. Yeah, this is Organized Confusion. Like I said, open it up. Excuse me, I bought the CD years ago, so this is what the album looks like. Take out the CD. Pretty dope. It has like the kind of like an up close look of the moon. Pretty dope. That's what the CD looks like. Pretty cool. See the back. See Principal right here. See Pharaoh Monch, brand new look of them. It is funny too, cause I always laugh at that because you could tell this was like '97, '98 because of the goggles. Cause I don't know, was Cash really doing like all my peoples that was born in the '80s, man, that was born like all my '80s babies. Were you guys doing that? Like, let me know. I thought that was pretty funny, but and what's pretty cool is that if you see in the back here, you see like the rated R. Kind of like a poster of a movie, so I thought that was pretty cool. Kind of sets the tone of the album. Alright, pretty cool. Open it up. This is what the cover looks like. As you can see here, pretty dope. Kind of like like SWAT agents or some shit like that. You can see right here. See the shout outs right here. Pretty cool. See Pharaoh Monch with his S curls, you know what I mean? That was pretty popular back in the day, back in the late '90s, back in the '90s in general. See Principal with his braids, pretty cool. See the track listing, all right. So I already mentioned the singles. Producers on the album is Organized Confusion themselves, Diamond D, Rashid, Buck Wild, Showbiz of DITC. It's a cat named Casper. Don't know who that is. I just mentioned Buck Wild of DITC fame. Who else? That's it. Those are the producers in the album. All right. Alright, you guys know how I get down. I'm gonna go through some of the tracks. Let me just set this up. Ironically, listening to DITC. Alright, first track is the intro, but it's a skit. It's called The Interior Assassin's Car, 3:35 a.m. It's a pretty dope skit. You know, it's just it takes place like it's Pharaoh is both Pharaoh and Prince Poe in the car. It's like in a dark, rainy night. It's like 3:35 a.m. in the morning, but it's, you know, obviously at night and stuff like that. You know, just in the car, they're plotting to kill somebody and stuff like that. You know, just in the car, you know, things like that. I thought that was pretty cool. Kind of sets the tone of the album, pretty cool. Track 2, They Don't Want It, is the first song off the album. It's more of an interlude, but it's a song. Very dark beat, you know, pretty dope. You know, it just talks about, you know, his principal talking about, you know, his frustrations. You know, he just talks about his frustrations with the industry, what's going on at the time. You know, I've mentioned that with, you know, when I did J. Rue the Damages, Rap for the Math album I did like a couple weeks ago. You know, he's just talking about how, you know, the frustrations of the industry and how, like, some industry cats, you know, they're too good to show them love and things like that because, you know, they're underground and stuff like that. He talks about that. That's what I got from the joint, They Don't Want It. Track 3 is March 21st, 3:45 a.m. That's another skit. It's like a continuation of the first skit where, you know, they actually found the person that they're looking for. You know, they do a drive-by, they kill them, and then they actually talk about and then the narrator actually talks about the situation, what happened. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's a skit. Track 4, 9 times out of 10. That's a pretty dope joint right there. It just was about, you know, cats that get into the game, that, you know, they just want the recognition, you know, that people get recognition, but not for their skills, but more of their image. And it definitely speaks on today because that shit's happening right now. You got, you know, certain artists, I'm not gonna name names because I'm gonna look like a hater. I'm just saying, like, you know, this is, you know, sorry about that. It's just cats. He's just talking about cats that, you know, that's just good on, but, you know, they get on because of the shit that they do. And they also talk about, you know, artists that conform to whatever sounded dope at the time, just to, you know, just to fit in, just to get more sales and stuff like that. Whether it's like doing commercial music or anything like that, you know, they talk about that shit. That's 9 times out of 10. There's a pretty dope song right there. Track 5, Questions. That was produced by Diamond D. It's a braggadocio track. They just talk about, you know, MCs that don't deserve to be put on and things like that. It's kind of like a continuation of 9 times out of 10, you know, things like that. They just talk about how people with skills don't get, you know, recognized, and why the people that don't have skills are recognized. It's kind of reminiscent to today because it's going on right now. So it's kind of a continuation of 9 times out of 10. I thought the song was okay. I didn't like the beat. You know what I mean? That was my only gripe with the song. Questions, didn't really care for the beat. You know, and I love Diamond D, but I felt like that was kind of a weak beat of his. Like, not my favorite beat of his. I thought it could have been a better beat, but that's just my opinion. Track 6, Soundman. Pretty dope joint right there. You know, it's just sort of about it's like a song like taking you through how cats perform on stage. You know, dealing with like the sound man, like, you know, just making sure the sound man has the sound sounding good, crisp, make sure everything's on point. You know, dealing with the audience, like, you know, just with the fans wanting you to perform certain songs. You know how it is, because, you know, you go to a concert and, like, you want your artist to perform your favorite song, but sometimes they might not be able to perform because maybe they haven't performed it in a long time, or because of time constraint. Because I know how it is, because, you know, certain artists, like, they have a certain time slot that they're given. Like, maybe sometimes they'll be given, like, you know, like an hour to perform, an hour and a half and things like that. So it could get kind of frustrating. But I can understand the artist's frustration too, because I'm pretty sure they would want to perform that, but it's just like certain time constraints, certain setbacks they're not able to do, and but at the same time making sure they they give what the audience want, because they paid hard money to pay to see them perform. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Track 7, Move, definitely could be. It's a dope song. I like it. It definitely don't sound like something that could have been like a single around that time. Like maybe not a club track, but like more like a single. You know what I mean? But it definitely could have been a potential single. But just based on the lyrics, like when Pheromone's just like have the hands, have to move, have the people bouncing in the club and stuff like that. So that kind of thing. But that's what I got from that joint right there. Like I said, it definitely has like a club. It is a potential for a club track, but not in a corny way. So that's what I got with Move. Track 8, Confrontations, pretty dope joint right there. It's just pretty much talks about Prince Paul and Pheromone just getting into it with some dudes at the club. Getting into the fight and just talking about just describing what happened, like what did they do, like I think one of them, Prince Paul said like he hit one of the bouncers or hit one of the dudes with a champagne bottle. It's just what really descriptive, man. Really, really dope, man. And I thought that was pretty cool. And that song kind of reminds me of the song, what's that shit? Let It Slide, from OC off the World Life album, where he actually talked about going to a Jamaican club and he was about to get into some dudes and he was about to shoot them, but his man was like, nah, you just let it slide. So that kind of thing. So it kind of reminded me of that. That's Confrontations. And at track 9 is Life and Malice Exterior Club Night. It's just a skit, just after, is after the fight, after the confrontation, which I thought was pretty cool. It's kind of like the song after. It's pretty much what happened after the fight. You know what I mean? And he just talks about, the bouncers breaking it up and things like that. And like, yo, fuck them niggas, fuck them. I'm gonna get to them, blah blah. That kind of shit. You know how it is. Like you get into a fight and then you mad, you want to fight more and that kind of thing. That's pretty much the scenario with that skit. Track 10, Numbers. I believe it was the second single of the album. But like I said, there's no video for it. There's no video. It's like not an official single, but it is a single, if that makes sense. It's more of an underground single. It's a very unique track, very dope. It's a play on they're playing on numbers. I thought that was very clever. I wrote it down where Prince Post said, "We murking 420, we eat island, 3-5 and 2 deep." And 2 deep is the West Coast group. Mac 10 under the seat for carjacking passenger 57's. A product 19. Who gets the dumbest behind 7-Eleven? No. Who gets the dumpster behind 7-Eleven? Very, very clever shit right there. You know what I mean? You would have to listen to the track more and more, but it's very clever shit. Very original. You know what I mean? I thought that was pretty cool. All right. Track 11. Sugar Shorty. Pretty dope track right there. It's very relatable. That's the third and final single of the album. I don't think there's a video for it because I tried looking for it, but I couldn't find a single for that. A video for that, because I would have posted it, but I would have seen it already or whatever. But it's just sort of about them, hollering at some girls and things like that. I think with Pharo's situation, he tried hollering at a girl, but then it didn't work out to his favor, because I guess the girls felt like, he was just out for sex and stuff like that, Everybody's guilty of that. But girls need to stop fronting too, because they want dick too. But obviously they're not as obvious as guys and stuff like that. So that kind of thing. But with Prince Poe's situation, it's just about he's getting lucky with the girl and this girl that he sees, and things like that. And I thought that was pretty cool. It's very relatable. You know, you're trying to holler at girls, but they're not giving you the time to play, things like that. And there was a line where Pharoah said like this chick had no ass. So I forget what he said. Like with your fiberglass, flat back. I forget what he said. I should have wrote it down, but I thought that was pretty funny, man. But the girls nowadays, whoo, you don't have to worry about that problem. That's all I gotta say about that, especially down here in Florida. But yeah, Sugar Shorty, pretty dope joint right there. And that features Hurricane G, and yeah, that was pretty dope. Track 12, Interior Car Night. It's pretty dope, and it's just sort of about Prince Paul and Pharoah Monch and their friends. You know, just talking bullshit. You know, just talking, having fun in the car, listening to music. But then Prince Paul, I guess his girl called and just saying like, yo, like, when you gonna come see me? He's like, yo, I ain't trying to go uptown because, you know, if you guys are from New York, you guys know, especially if you take the train, you know, it's a bitch getting to the uptown. Like, what are you going to the Bronx or whatever? Because that just takes like a good hour and change. You know, depends what part of the Bronx you're going to. You know what I mean? It just takes a minute, maybe even more. You know what I mean? Especially the ones that, you know, goes to every stop. Like, it's a pain in the ass, man. But I could definitely relate to that. But he's just saying like, yo, like, you live all the way uptown, you're too far. It's like, yo, come on. And the girl's like, come on, just come see me, blah, blah, blah. So, yo, I'll talk to you later, blah, 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 whatever, that kind of shit. So, very dope. Track 13, In Vitro. Love that joint. Very dope conceptual track. One second. Sorry about that. Yeah, In Vitro, very dope conceptual track. They both play in the point of view of unborn twins with a mom in their stomach. Pretty dope track. It's kind of reminiscent of Nas' Fetus, even though they came out with it first. And it's coincidental that Nas came with a song called Fetus. But, you know, I already said what I had to say about that. Oh, and another thing too, Prince Paul, he said in a recent interview that, you know, you talked about the straight bullet incident where, like, he didn't mind Nas doing that. He just wanted Nas to give, you know, pray, like, you know, to recognize that, you know what I mean, like, that they did it first, that kind of thing. But he wasn't mad. He was just like, yo, I just wish Nas would acknowledge that we did it first, or he doesn't mind him paying homage to them, but, you know, just give them praise is what he's trying to say. So I agree with that, but, you know, it is what it is. But much love to Nas, you know what I mean? No shots towards him, but, you know, it is what it is. But getting back to the song, In Vitro, you know, like I said, they both play in a point of view of, you know, of two unborn twins. But it's funny too because Pharoah Monch does the first verse and he talks about how his mom, or the mother, is their mom, I should say, is a drug addict. So, you know, she's smoking crack and all that stuff. And so Pharoah Monch prays that, you know, he rather not be born because he doesn't want to be a crack baby. He doesn't want to be addicted to drugs or like be in the streets and things like that. And he actually talks about that. Whereas Prince Paul plays the opposite, where he's like, yo, I would love to be born. You know, I would love to live life and have a life of my own. Be able to be a successful man, you know, making money and having the nice cars and things like that. I thought that was a very interesting track, man. Very, very, very dope. Very ahead of its time, especially for 1997. That's one thing about Organized Confusion, that when it came to concepts, that they were dope about that. KRS-One too. But I'll talk about that another day with KRS-One. I have to do some Boogie Down production videos. I will do that soon. Don't worry, I got you guys. But getting back to In Vitro, like I said, they play a point of view as a fetus. Pretty dope. I really fucks with that. Track 14, Chuck Cheese. Love that joint right there. That song is actually Prince Paul's solo track. It's pretty much talking about this cat. From the interview that I heard, it was actually a dude that they knew in real life, but obviously they're not gonna put his name out, so they just call him Chuck Cheese. Where Chuck Cheese pretty much was he was a stick up kid, and he's catching. He's known for catching jokes, which means robbing people. And there was an incident where Chuck actually was robbing somebody, but got caught in the act. So he got arrested. Well, him and a couple of people got arrested, and he ended up doing like 3 to 5 years or some shit like that. So he got out, but obviously he didn't learn his lesson because you gotta make money. And his mind's like, yo, how can I make money? How can I make easy money? What can I do? What do I do? How can I make money? Start robbing people again. That's the easiest way I know how to make money. So they do that, and so he ends up doing that, and then you would have to read, and he does it again and again and again, and you just have to listen to the track to see what I'm talking about. But it's a pretty dope joint because I know a lot of people like that. There's some of them are dead and some of them are in jail right now as we speak. So nothing comes easy, man. You gotta work hard, man. I mean, I don't knock people that makes money, but as long as you're not hurting people, you know what I mean, you're not causing harm to people, I don't mind you making money, whether you have to be a stripper or a prostitute or whatever, but as long as you're not hurting people, you know what I'm saying, and you do it safe. That's all I'm saying. So that's Chuck Cheese, definitely one of my favorite tracks off the album. Love the beat for that shit right there. Track 15, Interior, Marisol's Apartment. It's just a continuation of the Interior car night, where I told you guys about how Prince Paul got a phone call from his girl in the car while he was with his friends saying, yo, when you come see me, blah, blah, blah. And so with this one, it's, Prince Paul and Marisol get into an argument because she has everything on. She has the TV on, she has the radio on, she has the lights on, and Prince Paul's like, yo, turn all them shits off. If you're gonna have one thing on, have one thing on. Don't have everything on. I'm the one providing I'm the provider. I'm the one paying the bills and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And they just get into arguing with that. I thought that was pretty cool. Track 16, Sin. That's a Pharaoh My Soul track. That's a pretty dope track right there. In this song, he's kind of struggling with why is he doing the bad. He's asking God, why is he doing the bad things he does. He knows from right from wrong, but he's so tempted by sin, like he can't control himself. You know what I mean? And it's a very deep track right there. That's the song Sin. Definitely check that joint out. Track 17, Hate. Very dope conceptual track. They both play as a point of view of a white supremacist, like a KKK member or something like that. Talk about, fuck these niggers, fuck these kikes and spics and all that stuff. But the way they do it is just so dope. You know what I mean? Very, very, very dope. Track 18, March 21st, 3:47 a.m. skit. It's, from what I got from it, is a skit where I guess where they were about to do a robbery. They were about to plan a robbery or whatever. And then one of the dudes was telling the other guy, yo, don't be late. Don't be late for the shit for what we're about to do. And then next he's like, alright, I got you, I'm not gonna be late. He's like, yeah, you said that last time, whatever. And then based on what I've heard, just listen on that, it seemed like, after he got out of the car, they ended up shooting the guy. And I thought that was, pretty crazy. Alright, track 19, Somehow Someway, which was the first single off the album. That was produced by Wakwala. Pretty dope track right there, dope video. Love the beat for that joint right there. It definitely sounds like something Redman would have done around the mid-90s, or even Jamal, something that could have been on his first album, the Last Chances No Breaks, which I did a review on, I think a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. Check that out when you guys get a chance. But yeah, very dope joint right there, very dope video. Love that joint right there. Yeah, man, it's pretty dope, man. Pretty dope joint right there. Track 20, Epilogue, is the last track, and it's accompanied with a bonus track And the epilogue is pretty much the outro. It's just the narrator talking. He's just talking his bullshit, whatever. And which leads on to the next track, which is called United as One. It's a dope track. It's just a posse cut, just them, you know. I don't know the other artist that's on there, but you know, but it's a posse cut, pretty dope joint right there. And that's pretty much it, man. By far, definitely a dope album. Unfortunately, this was the last album that they did together. It's not that they broke up, because they didn't break up per se. They just stopped doing music with each other. Even though Principal was featured on a song on Pharoah Monch's first album, Internal Affairs, which I will be doing. Don't worry, I will be doing that. But they broke up because, from what Principal was saying, like how the album wasn't promoted right. You know what I mean? They didn't get the right promotion with this album. You know, I guess people, it went over people's heads. You know what I mean? With the movie concept, it had a movie concept, and I guess people wasn't really ready for that. Unfortunately, you know, it was because you gotta remember, this is 1997, because 1997, that was like around the time where, you know, that Bad Boy was taking over and stuff like that. Everything was getting more commercial, things like that. This was like the party time, you know what I mean? So, but Prince Paul was just saying, like, he didn't like how the album didn't get the right promotion and things like that. He got tired of people saying, like, yo, you guys are dope, but you guys are not getting recognized and things like that. And so, you know, he got tired of that shit, so that's why they broke up and things like that, which is a shame, but, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, throughout the later years, they ended up putting out solo projects and things like that. And like I say, I will be doing a review on Pharoah Monch's first album. Don't worry, I got you. But yeah, man, very dope. What I like about this album, like I said, is like a lot more cinematic. It's a different feel compared to the first two albums. So I love all of the albums, but this album right here, like I said, love the cinematic feel to it. Very dope. And you gotta remember that they had that Disney budget, so they were under Disney. They were with Hollywood Basic, even though it was Priority Records, but you know, I think they were still under Disney Records too. So they still had that budget, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, like I said, very dope, very original, very dope concept album. You know what I mean? And you know, people like to name. I'm not gonna name this person's artist because you guys know who I'm talking about. You know, this person put out an album recently, maybe like last year, and they're saying like this is the best album, the best concept album, and things like that. But not realizing there's an album like this that was ahead of its time and was one of the first to do it. But you know how that is. You know how some cats today are. But you know, unfortunately, just like the first two albums, this album is actually out of print. But it's not an album that you're not gonna find in stores. If you do, obviously you're gonna find it used, but it's not expensive as the first two. The first two albums are a little bit more pricey compared to this album. You can actually find this album a lot dirt cheap online. You know what I mean? I got this maybe I think for like $3.99 back in the day. So, but that's pretty much it, man. If you guys like Pharoah Monch, Prince Paul, you like late '90s underground hip hop, then definitely pick this album up. If you like that movie feel, then definitely then you'll definitely enjoy that album. That's it, folks. Definitely stay tuned for more videos. Peace.